Hey, it's another live with CCO. We're on episode 98, getting very close to 100. Thanks for taking time to be with us. I'm seeing lots of names already pop in. I always appreciate knowing where you guys are from. I do see names that I recognize. This is probably a topic that many of you are interested in that we'll be talking about today. Don't forget that our live with CCO is a more casual conversation, and I'll keep an eye on the chat as well. If you have questions, make sure to put them in there and we'll address them as we go along. There's Carmen. All right. Again, I'm seeing lots of people that I recognize. San Diego's representing Florida, Miami, Florida. Hey, that's close to where Jesus is, and Southern California. Great. Connecticut, it looks like. Well, New Jersey, we appreciate you guys again taking some time to pop in and check what's happening, what's new. Today, our focus is going to be on those 2024 CPT codes, the early release that is out there. Now, you guys, the content is there. I'm going to show you how to get to it, and then you can do further investigating on your own. We're going to do some brief kind of reviews. The whole thought process is give you the information. uh, you know, uh, each one of these little categories that it's divided up in, we can make a whole lecture on. And maybe that's why you're here. You're needing to get the content so that you can turn around and give it back to your peers, the people you work with. So today we're going to focus on the 2024 CPT codes, the early release that just happened. One of the first areas that they mention is the immunization codes. Now, the immunization that is going to include vaccine toxoids, those immune globulins, the serum, and the recumbent products. Now, again, when we say immunization, it's a much broader scope than just going in and getting your um, you know, polio or the flus or the varicellas and stuff like that. So do know that for immunization, it covers a large scope. Now, these codes were approved back in October, and they are approved for being released electronically. That means, again, they just dropped them electronic to give us a heads up. Uh, the publication following January 1st. But the approval was February and May, and those are published on July 1st. So they've been out a little bit. I only just came across them. It may have had a flash back in early July, but I didn't see them at that time. The full set of the codes has been approved, and they'll be out in the 2024 publication of the CPT manual. So that's just a little behind the scenes that you may not have been aware of. This has been confusing, these early releases, both for CPT and ICD. I know that there's a little bit of a learning curve because we're used to everything having come out one time a year, and we've kind of gotten stuck in a rut there. So I appreciate having these released earlier. It's almost like they're not throwing everything at us at once. We can break it out. I did want to show you the codes. Now, I will pull over the screen, but with the immunization codes, the descriptors, I would encourage you to look at the short code description. You could look at the long or the medium if you wanted, but honestly, the short code description is what I pulled up for us to glance at. I have no reason to look at the long description when we're just giving it the old hairy eyeball. Now, there were other things that were updated, but the immunization is what I wanted to take first. Um, and I'm gonna show you I've linked this, guys, at the bottom, the AMA site, and this is what you want to be paying attention to. The CPT early releases. We'll talk about the immunization codes first, then we'll look at the category 3 codes briefly. If it's applicable to you, the PLA codes. Now, the Appendix S, that is kind of fascinating, guys. It's pretty interesting. This is all about the AI, and many of us are wanting more information. We want to get ahead of the curve on AI. Uh, so I encourage you to use that link and study what's happening just so you're ahead. And the modifier 93, that's going to be for audio only, um, for telehealth. Again, remember we were talking about that just a few webinars back, the approval for telehealth being extended, what is allowed, what's not allowed, so on and so forth. And you know what? They change it constantly, it seems like, but it's our job as professionals to stay on top of that and make sure that our providers and the rest of our team knows what's happening. So those immunization codes, the descriptors are all going to be right here. I'm going to bring over, that's the category 3 codes. You know what? I may have not opened that up. Let me just open that up real quick here. And I'll let you see what that looks like. Again, I chose to look at the short version, and we'll scroll through this. The early release of the short version here. So easy to find. Hopefully, me going step by step through this will allow you to navigate it yourself more efficiently. Let me just make this bigger, and I can, sorry. There, I think that works really well. So, for the most part, I think it's important that you understand the icons, but note the FDA approval pending symbol. That's going to be really, really important. Okay, uh, whether it's going to be paid for or not. So we have some changes with smallpox vaccines and monkeypox. That was one of the new codes that is coming out. The not I didn't go in and open up the full descriptions, and I don't know if your encoder has the new codes listed yet. I use Find a Code. I sent them a message this morning to see when they plan to have the new codes up, but they haven't responded again. I should have probably done that at the beginning of the week instead of waiting till the end, right? All right, so just to kind of give you an idea, don't forget these icons, what they mean, so that you can have a better idea of what's happening. Some of these I'm very familiar with, some of them not at all. So again, this vaccinations is not my world. It goes on to give you, let's see, a total of 10 pages, and I'll just scroll quickly. Some of this will probably be familiar to you guys. There's, the SARS COVID that we're looking at, and then again with these different vaccinations for things like COVID, uh, we have more than one. I started to say publisher because we were talking beforehand about publishing, but they have more than one company producing them. Is it Pfizer? Is it Medela? Stuff like that. So again, this is the list that you could have, the early release schedule. They have the long, medium, and short description. I encourage you to always use the short description. Um, uh, I can't imagine what you would need a full long description if you were notifying everybody else in your team about it to give them a heads up before the full release of the new manual. There is some clarifications with the coronavirus, and also the advisory committee immunization practices. I did read a fabulous article this afternoon pertinent to immunizations, and it was a study on how many people are not getting vaccinations like they used to. It was an interesting read. You might look into that. As we get ready to go through the rest of our lecture tonight, guys, I wanted to remind you that if in fact you love our webinars, and I hope that you do, and you find them informative, we have them over on the CCO Club. It's real easy to find cco.us/club. Uh, Again, this CCO Live, they stay up in our YouTube channel. So that's for everybody. However, if you want to have more of a private one-on-one conversation about some of the things that we discuss, and you get replays, you get the slide deck, you get the transcript, you can find those on the CCO Club. Again, real easy to find, cco.us/club. You can ask questions, you can share your knowledge and insight in there, and it's an exclusive arena. So everybody's on the same page, hopefully. And the number one key is that we increase each other's knowledge as we work as a team. All right, let's move on to the CPT codes. The CPT codes, I went ahead and highlighted a few things. This is the way they put them out again on that same uh, page that I showed you a few minutes ago, where it lists what's available and the new releases. But uh, you'll see this repetitive thing here is that we have the short description again. So in all of these, we have the short description and then anything in addition that you needed to be aware of. I thought this was really kind of interesting. The first 10 years, the category 3 codes, wasn't that fascinating? I haven't had a chance to read that. Again, if you guys do have comments about this first 10 years, this PDF, I'm really curious about what your thoughts are for that. So let's just go ahead and pull those over and give them a quick scan. This is what it's going to look like when you get in there. And I'll make it larger for us that have to go to readers. So let's see. This is considered Appendix S. No, I grabbed the wrong one. Oh, shoot. That was my secret one. I didn't want to pull that one over yet. That's the one I find the most fascinating tonight. Apologize for that. I gave you a sneak peek. That's the AI. All right, category 3 codes, short descriptions. Most of these are those codes that end in T. If you guys aren't familiar with those, I always think of those as temporary codes. Again, you can flip through these pretty quickly. Notice that all of the time when they do these they do them alphanumeric or numeric order, letting you know when they were released, when they're going to be implemented here. They'll be effective and they will come out in the 24 publication of the CPT manual. I didn't see anything that jumped out at me as unusual or unique or new. Now, there were changes. If you guys aren't aware, a little tidbit, the medical symbol for change is a triangle. So whenever you see a triangle, that usually means something has changed. Now that we don't handwrite like we used to our medical notes, a lot of people aren't aware of that next generation under us, that you guys are, if you're the same age as me, you you know this, but they don't know some of these symbols. So that's changed. So they did change some of the verbiage in there, and just real quickly going through them. Um, I'll try to go slow enough that you can see anything that might jump out at you. All right. But the exciting one, this is the one that I thought was pretty fascinating. Well, okay, I'm sorry. I take that back. The PLA codes, you know, uh, not everybody has to deal with laboratory uh, codes. So I did pull those. So let's look at them. the short description I pulled for you to kinda have an there was a couple things in here I did find interesting, though, but look at a lot of the change of the verbiage, what they did. Um, some of the codes that were completely dropped, and, again, the one that caught my eye was the prostate cancer risk panel, male laboratory test. I thought that was interesting, that that was deleted, and I don't know if that maybe some of you guys might have some more insight, though. Was that exclusive to, a special panel that Mayo put out that they were doing, for testing? Um, Again, that would be, interesting to know. So they did drop a lot of things, thrombocytopenia panel, they changed, a lot of those triangles, the heart, CADs, and, let's see, they have 11 pages. No, there's another one, the Mayo Clinic. Maybe you guys could give me some insight into that because I was not aware of, why it would say that. It must be something they do because of their, research center. Let's see, solid tumor expanded panel. I'm trying to go slow enough that you guys can kind of get an idea of what if this is something that you deal with on these lab analyses. Um, Liquid hallmark, and we're down to the end. Tempest Labs is the last one. All right. Uh, Enough of that. Now, let's get into the juicy, fun stuff. This is the one I was so excited to tell you about. Is the and again, this shouldn't say PLA codes. This is all about the AI application. The taxonomy provides the guidance for classifying various artificial intelligences, automated AI applications, and expert systems, machine learning, algorithm-based services for medical services and procedures. There are three categories. They have assistive, they have augmentative, and autonomous. Those um, that is something I would take away. Have those written down because this is gonna become part of our everyday verbiage in the future. AI is here to stay. How it's going to impact us is yet to be seen, but the key is that we really have to embrace it. It's not going to take over our jobs. What it's going to do is change our jobs. So if we embrace the change, then we're going to be able to have a positive impact and influence how this is going to assist us with patient care. So let me pull those over real quick now that I've got them here. See if let's hope I didn't. There's the PLA codes. Don't wanna have lost it. Okay. If I have to, I can go back and look at those. Hate those pauses. Don't forget that link. Jesus put that up, and we did put it in the resources. Mm, excuse me. That resource is one that I think that you'll be able to check every year with the AMA. Let's look here. Right here, appendix AI. Now, once they stated that this appendix was going to be there, that we were going to start using that, it was kind of a game changer for what some of us did. For the most part, to know that AI is just another well, it's not even a platform. It is a tool. It can work faster than we can to abstract data, but if the data is not in the documentation isn't there accurately, then it's not able to pull the information uh, uh, in a timely manner or to benefit us. So our role changes and morphs a little bit is that we become educators, both for the coders and the providers, to make sure the documentation is accurate and at the highest specificity. Yeah, DJ says, I agree with your theory to embrace the new order of AI, but I'm still a bit fearful that it will replace our medical coding and billing jobs. And we did a webinar not too long ago about this. It is not going to replace our jobs. It will absolutely change the way we do our jobs. The fact is that AI will be able to do certain things faster than we can. It'll be able to abstract faster. It will be able to um, put information into a spreadsheet faster than we can, and then put those algorithms together so that we can track, how many people are suffering from CKD and what stage within our communities, and then we can start linking up treatment plans and so on and so forth. So, uh, you know, what we want to do is again have our skill sets morph a little bit in that we take on that advisory role, and we also take on the role of educator. We'll still be auditing AI. It's pretty fascinating what it can and cannot do. In that video that we did, and Jesus was great. He's already got that link up for you guys to watch on the YouTube. Um, our video on AI, and went through and tested it. It has no ability to do context. So that being said, we are able to handle the context. Now, what they're doing here, let's go back to what the new releases are. Remember those three things that I told you about, that they're main categories. Um, let's see. Here we go. This is pertinent here. The term AI is not intended to encompass or constrain the full scope of innovations that are characterized as work done by machines. Now, I you can't tell me they're not trying to get away from that term. Period. Work done by machines, but the AI medical services are procedures that are going to be able to assist, augment, and be able to be autonomous and based in the clinical procedure to service for services provided to the patient. It's going to be able to catch mistakes, and then we in turn can educate on those mistakes. Now, Sarah, you make a point. She says, I'm fearful of ICD-11 rather than AI replacing coders. It now another reason that we're moving to ICD-11 is because it is more computer friendly, uh, and statistical friendly. And don't forget, you guys hear me say this all the time, almost like I'm pounding it into your head. It's a mantra that I say all the time. We code for statistical purposes. It happens to be a convenient way to get paid. And so ICD-11, we've done lectures on that. I've been going and doing local chapter lectures on ICD-11, Nothing to Fear is what I titled that. If you guys need a local chapter lecture, reach out, because we do have that one recorded that you can and approved by the AAPC. But we're going to be partnering with AI, and ICD-11 will absolutely be coming in the next few years, like 3 years. I don't think less than that, because we're never going to, we're going to have an election year that's going to stall things out. But it's being beta tested. You can get in there and play with it already. Uh, 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 there's resources. We talk about it in the CCO club. Feel free to join the CCO club, and you can share your thoughts in there, and we can share our knowledge. I'm all over ICD-11, and play with it often because ICD is my world. Now, uh, let's see. Let's go ahead and just kind of break this down quickly. So, assistive classification, the work performed by a machine for the physician or other qualified healthcare provider, is assisted when the machine detects clinically relevant data without analysis or generated conclusions, requires physician or other provider's interpretation and report. So, the augmentive classification is the work performed by the machine for the physician is augmentative when the machine analysis does an analysis and or quantifies data in a clinical meaningful way, requires physician to interpret and report, and then autonomous, the work performed by the machine for the physician when the machine automatically interprets data and independently generates clinically meaningful conclusions without concurrent physicians involvement. The medical services and procedures will include interrogating and analyzing data. The work of the algorithm may or may not include um, acquisitions or preparations and or transmission of data. The clinically meaningful conclusion may be that the characterization of the data to be used to establish a diagnosis or to implement a therapeutic intervention. There are three levels of autonomous. The AI medical service procedures have varying physician involvement. So let's talk about those three levels real quick. The level one is it draws a conclusion and offers diagnosis and or management options, which are constant are cons- constable. I can't pronounce that word. That doesn't even make and requires physician and other action to be implemented. Isn't that funny where your brain just glitches on one word? Level two, it draws conclusion and initiates diagnosis and or management options with alert opportunity for override, which may require physicians input and action. And level three, it draws conclusions and initiates managements which require physician or other consent. So there are three levels to this. I'll let you go in and kind of unpack that, how that's going to happen with where you work, if it'll be implemented or used. For the most part, I really feel like, again, we embrace it, but at what level and what area of AI will be used? Family practice, mm, probably not used as much, but anything we can do to take the pressure off of our providers, when they're seeing 30 patients or more a day, uh, and doing all the paperwork and charting, it can be overwhelming. So anything we can do to make it easier, whether it be to reference that this particular an ear infection versus a strep throat, which antibiotic works best, and being able to come up quickly with the dosages for an age and weight so that the provider doesn't have to get the little book out and look it up. uh, you know that will be beneficial. I can see it doing other things, but statistics that it's going to be able to draw is going to be brilliant. And what we do is based on statistics. How do we know we need more diabetic education centers? How do we know we need a new wound care clinic? How do we know we are going to need in the future a dialysis clinic? Based on the statistics of the patient population that has CKD, and so on and so forth. So I think that that will be relevant. I know it's going to be extremely beneficial to risk adjustment, which again is my world, and therefore I can see ways that it's not going to take over our job. It's going to enhance the data and the ability to do our job at a faster and hopefully will catch mistakes and errors in a more timely manner. Now, there are some other informations regarding Appendix S. Appendix S is going to be really exciting, but if you guys want to look at that, this is how it's classified. Again, the link that we gave you, you'll be able to go in and do more research there. One last thing, we have the modifier that I mentioned. So let's go look at that. I may have Appendix T. Now, this is they talk about effective April 1st. We've got modifier 93, a synchronous telemedicine service rendered via telephone or other real-time interactive audio only telecommunication system. Now, remember when we had COVID and Medicare would only pay for visual televisits. And then people, what do you do when you have a 80-year-old patient that does have a cell phone, but has never ever done a video visit? And now they're trying to put that phone up and talk to the provider, and everything, when a phone call might be sufficient, or poor connections and stuff. I read tons of documents where they started out as video visits and then they never could link up. It does change the reimbursement that the provider gets. And so I think now that we know it's not going away, audio visits are here to stay. This modifier 93 helps tell the story. It is going to be real time, interactive between the physician, and this is supposed to be noteworthy or noted that the patient has to be located at a distant site. So they can't be doing telemedicine for a patient that's in-house. I don't mean in their house, that is, you know, in the facility or the clinic system or whatever. It has to be somebody that's remote. Now, I did want to bring to your attention one more thing here as we get ready to wrap up, that the exchange between the physician and the patient is again it's got to be no delay. It's as face to face as you can get on the telephone, right? And it has to be in the nature that it's sufficient to meet the key components or requirements of the same service when rendered via a face-to-face interaction. So that means that you still have to have that SOAP note or that template or that visit note. What most clinic systems, and when I was working with Baylor, they had that first a statement, a prepaid statement that was at the very beginning of the visit note, and then it went down from there. And you would just fill in the blanks, more or less. So it's a regular visit. You produce the same kind of encounter note. The only difference is that there is a statement at the top. And with remote monitoring becoming a pretty successful area out in rural places, then the provider could check vital signs. They actually can do EKGs remote and see them real time, and some other assistive devices in remote monitoring that would allow you to get to a higher level because of the information you can get from the patient. Even if it's via telephone, it could be still linked in. So it's amazing what they can do. So major changes is, where we are now in an AI world, where telehealth is here to stay, and they're accommodating and clarifying that. Rules are changing quite a bit. The codes are being dropped twice a year instead of just once a year. And I think that's about it, guys. I do know that if this topic was helpful to you, um, it it benefits us to know what we can provide that's going to make your life a little easier as a coder or whatever arena you're in. Uh, so let us know what topics you'd like us to cover. We enjoy unpacking them. We have a lot of fun. We learn from you, hopefully just as much as you learn from us. To do a topic request, just send it into cco.us/topic hyphen request. Jesus has put the link there for you in the chat. And again, we want to continue to give you valuable content. The best way that we can do that is for you to let us know what you need. Otherwise, I'm telling you, we're going to talk about ICD-10, the disease process, and risk adjustment. That's my go-to because that's my favorite things to talk about. If you don't tell us what you want, all right? Again, we enjoy what we do. Share with other people. Let them know that CCO is here to help them. You guys, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Do you need more medical certification and business training? Learn more at www.cco.us.